So what is it really like to make a coffee on the Breville Bambino Plus? What about the new Oracle Jet or even the dual boiler machine? Are they good value for money? Can we make great coffee on them? Stick around, you're going to find out. So before I dive into this, let us know in the comments if you own a Breville, if you've used one before, what's your experience been? There's plenty of people in the Breville world, people looking at Brevilles that want to find out more. So the comments are really helpful. Make sure you like the video and check out the other ones we've done on huge range of coffee machines. But today, I want to talk about my experience of taking these 3 coffee machines home. I took them into my home and really just got the experience of what it would be like to buy these machines and unbox them for the first time, plug them in and find out what really happens. The reason I've chosen these machines out of the full range of Breville is we're looking at the under $1,000 mark with the Breville Bambino Plus, the $1,000 to $2,000 range with the dual boiler, and then the above $2,000 range with the Breville Oracle Jet. Now, everyone has a different experience of making coffee, and that's because we all drink different coffees. What we value when we're making coffee at home can really change. That can be from how much time you've got to make coffee. You've got to consider what coffees it is that you're making and you want to make. Are they milk-based drinks? Are they black coffees? And these are the things that when you're looking to buy a new machine or you're wanting to upgrade, you got to think about. You got to think about all of the reasons that you or your partner or the other people in your house will need to benefit from this new machine. So firstly, let's talk about the Bambino Plus that I have here. Now there is just the Bambino model. This is the Plus, and I think it's well worth the money with the upgrades to some of the steaming technology in there. So firstly, straight out of the box, the size is cute, it's adorable. It's going to fit in any kitchen, low profile, so you can fit some cups. I know that some people's kitchens have a cupboard, so straight away it's going to fit. It does look specialty, so that's probably, if you're trying to impress some friends, this is not really the machine that's going to do that. But the other thing is, as you can see, there's no built-in grinder. Obviously, a built-in grinder means that you get the whole package and you just all in one. Now, for me, I was using my Niche Zero at home. I really like the grind flavor profile from it, and I got to choose which grinder I was using. Obviously, you compare this with a Breville grinder, but I don't have to. I'm not kind of forced to use the Breville grinder that's in the machine. So I think it's a real actual benefit to separate and not have the grinder built in quite often. So I think that's a pro. Now, little things about it, there's a big water canister at the back, it's about 1.9 litres. That's a lot of water for a little machine to hold, so that's good. You're not refilling it all the time. I would say the steam is the other big thing. Everyone has a bit of trouble learning how to spin milk. Being that this is kind of targeted at an entry-level barista, entry-level home coffee maker, we want to make sure that it's not too hard for you to get great milk, or you'll get put off, or you can go and watch all my latte art videos, but this is so easy. We literally just lift it up, put the milk jug in there, choose your temperature that you want your milk, choose the froth levels that you want it, and hit go. You can walk away. So, and I was really pleasantly surprised by the style of milk. I've seen much worse milk from quite good baristas. So I would say that's probably its biggest benefit. Historically, I don't love the pressure that I get out of a small machine like this, but it was able to maintain great pressure with the grinder that I was using. It didn't seem to struggle. There's a bit of inconsistency in between shots, but that's, I guess, to be expected when it's managing a bit of water. Overall, generally it made half decent coffee on this machine. It was tasting quite good. So I was using a delicate organic blend. It was nice and sweet, everything I wanted to get out of it. So I think if you really had a dinner party, if you had a bunch of friends over, back-to-back coffees would really struggle. And if you're considering that you have to make multiple coffees for multiple people, that's where you might want to look at bigger boilers and bigger machines. So this is more of a for yourself, for your partner, a hobbyist machine, but some great features in there that make it really quite simple and easy. Another benefit, it's pretty quiet. So just generally running it wasn't that noisy, so you could probably make a coffee and not wake up the family. So can you make good coffee on a Breville Bambino Plus? I'd say yes. I'd say it was simple to use and easy straight out of the box. Now, things I didn't like, I mean, it comes with all the baskets. I've never been a big fan of the dual wall. Really creates a pressurized environment. That's what you'd be using if you're using pre-ground coffee, but So if you're really trying to save money and you just want to buy the machine, yes, you can buy a pre-ground coffee, you won't get the best out of it. So that could help, but it's not my preferred. I definitely want to be using the single wall, which is in here. These are a 54mm portafilter. Now, that's a bit small. I love the bigger ones, get more flavor out of it, but it's quite simple. These do feel a bit light and the whole thing feels a bit plastic, but that's really what you're paying for. For your accessories, you get your milk jug. I don't love that I can't use my better milk jugs because you really have to have that flat surface to activate the button. Little thing, you maybe want to steam on this and transfer into a nice latte art milk jug. If you're into that, you know, simple little tamps that come with it. They feel a bit cheap, but that's what you're getting. And then this, the razor. The razor is interesting. They've kind of had this for a really long time. I've never quite understood it. I don't love it, but it does have a bit of a use. So this actually goes in after you're tamping. It's not a distribution tool, as one would think. So you actually fill your basket, tamp it down, then use the razor to level it out. It's just to create some sort of consistency if you're not weighing your dose and knowing how much is going in there every time. It's just trying to get it down to a point where it's not going to impact against the shower screen. I don't love it. I don't use it. But that's because I was also weighing my doses in and trying to get consistency in my dose. So you can use that tool if you don't want to get complicated with weighing your shots. It has a tiny little drip tray. Now that's getting full because of a great feature, which is an auto purge. So after you've done your milk, you lift up your steam wand, give it a wipe, and as you push it down, it will automatically purge. Now, be mindful, I did shoot myself with the auto purge at one point because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just learning how to use the machine, and I got hot water squirted on me. But there's a fair bit of water that drops in, so it actually fills that drip tray a fair bit. So you kind of would want to tip that out every coffee, almost every second coffee. So just a little thing, no big deal. But all in all, I was very impressed with the flavor of the coffee that I got out of it. It was quite basic, simple to use. To make great coffee on it, you'd want to learn a bit more about weighing and recipes and that kind of thing. But straight out of the box, it was pretty easy to use. I will say, the extractions that I was getting, the amount of coffee that I'm getting in my cup was really dictated by my grind setting. It's not like I've experienced before where it's when I press that double shot button, it always gives me X amount of liquid. In my cup, it was really cutting me off early if my grind was too fine. So a little bit of a learning experience there. I think even for me, that's not the experience I've had with volumetric machines, but it did imply that my grind was too fine because it cut off early. It's obviously giving me a certain amount of pressurized time. So I would say that that was a bit of a learning curve, something that you might come up against and you'll have to adjust your grind, but you can also use the manual button and override that. So all in all, I was pretty impressed with the Breville Bambino Plus. So we've got to talk about the Breville dual boiler. This has been a very popular machine because it really introduces a lot of the specialty coffee things that we know about other brands, and they've brought it into the Breville world. Now, that's been great for baristas that really want to learn how to make better coffee, have access to different pump pressures and temperatures and pre-infusion. But I will say, straight out of the box, I didn't nail this coffee. It was much harder to work on straight away. I had to kind of develop a bit more of a recipe, go into the settings a little bit more, understand the yields that I was getting. I can see that I have access to technology here that's going to give me the ability to improve my coffee every day, but it definitely took a little bit more work. I mean, compared to the Oracle Jet, I literally plugged it in and my wife went and made herself a coffee with minimal guidance from me, and it really told her how to change the grind even. So the dual boiler gives me access to what I want, but if I just want to make myself a cappuccino every morning and I don't want to fluff around with that, it might not be something that I jump on straight away. Now, you will also see that there's no built-in grinder to this. Again, the benefit being that I can choose a grinder. If I'm spending this much money on a machine, I would like to be able to buy myself a good grinder to go with it, and that's a benefit. I'd like to be able to upgrade the grinder over time and maintain my machine. This machine is really consistent in its pump pressure and its temperature. That's what's going to help you if you've got a good grinder, you're weighing in, you're weighing out, and you're developing a recipe. It's going to give you access to the tools you need to be able to do that, and that's amazing. Therefore, I'd recommend it to a hobbyist and someone that's a bit more excited about learning about coffee. And has the time and energy to really deep dive into coffee. This is not a machine for convenience. This is not a turn it on, there's no auto steaming function. And speaking of steam, bit slow. So I was probably the least impressed with the steam on this machine. Even though it's a dual boiler, it has a dedicated steam boiler. And one of the big benefits to a lot of people is that you can brew a shot while steaming your milk. Both the Oracle Jet and the Bambino, you cannot do that. You can't do them at the same time. But I don't think you need to. Maybe if you've got a bunch of friends, you want to make yourself coffee, you chuck your brew on, your shots are like 30 seconds. You could probably wait for your shot to finish and put your milk on. But on this machine, you can do them all at once. You could probably pump out a bunch of coffees and not really see an impact shot to shot. But I would say that milk took a while. It took me like probably 50 to 60 seconds to spin a jug of milk. And obviously I have to stand there and hold it to get the right position, to do the good technique. That time does allow you to add smaller air bubbles. The milk was amazing. Like by the time I'd finished and I'd done the right technique, but I needed to know how to spin milk to get the best out of that milk. But it definitely was a lot of a slower process on spinning my milk. The end result was exceptional. I will say that. It just felt like the smaller boiler experience that I've had, or single boiler machine, or maybe I would have expected that out of this. Obviously it takes a while to steam on a machine like this as well, but if I'm not standing there holding it and I can walk away and it turns itself off, then I'm not noticing how long it takes to steam on these machines. So beautiful steam result, just not the fastest on the steam. The other thing, I guess, is just aesthetically. This is a very classic looking Breville machine. It doesn't excite me. I mean, when I had these on my bench, I did have the Oracle Jet sitting on the bench. One of my mates came over, he's a coffee guy, he owns a cafe, and he saw it from the other side of the room. And it really sparked his interest. It's a good looking machine, especially in the matte black. I know you can do them in this as well. The Breville, this is such a classic looking Breville. It might be your style, might be what you're into. For me, it's, I've seen it before and it's underwhelming, but it's just a classic look that you might be into. But personally, I think this looks more impressive, and sitting on the nice kitchen bench, it's something to consider. I'd say out of all this range, it's the only machine that has a big pump pressure and bar pressure reading on the front of it, which really screams specialty to me. It does have the small display screen, which you can navigate through. Not quite as impressive as the Breville Oracle that we'll have a look at in a second, but obviously giving you more access than some of the cheaper models. You know what's something that kind of sucked is that I pulled my shot and then I came back to it a minute later and the screen had cleared my shot time. So I didn't know what my shot time was. So something really annoying that I sometimes find on some commercial machines too is that shot time will disappear. So with this machine, it does have a 58mm portafilter. It feels much weightier. It's much more like a specialty coffee handle. I can use my accessories, NCDs, funnels, all the tools that I had for my specialty coffee equipment, I was able to use on this machine. So that's a great benefit, and that's going to open up a lot more options for you if you are looking at upgrading in the future. All right, so lastly, we've got to talk about the Breville Oracle Jet. Now this right now is one of the newest models that have come out. It's been really exciting. There's been a lot of great reviews about it. I think people are enjoying many of the features. What are those features? Who's it for? This machine is designed for someone that wants to make great coffee, but might not have the skill set. They've got the budget. This is upwards of the $2,000 mark Australian for us, but it does include a grinder. So you have to consider that as far as when you're looking at the price of a coffee machine. The grinder is doing all the work. Now, I should have said this earlier, but it's all well and good to have a machine that pushes water through a bed of coffee. But if that bed of coffee isn't well prepared and the grinds aren't ground well, you might be fighting a losing battle. So having a good grinder is crucial to the process of making coffee, often more crucial than the machine itself. So in this case, no, you can't choose the grinder that's going to come with this machine. This grinder's fine. It's okay. It has a big range of grind settings, but I think the real benefit of this grinder is how well connected it is to the machine. What it actually does, if you pull a shot and it's under time and it can tell that it ran fast, a little note will come up on the screen and it will tell you what to put your grind setting to actually run a better extraction next time. That is gold. That I've actually not seen on a machine. So if there is machines that do that already, but even just that simple guidance is a real helpful thing for someone that wants to make a great coffee, but just might not know all the nuances that are going on to be able to do that. And like I said, I got my wife on here and she jumped on and made a coffee straight away. Now, in saying that, she drinks decaf. I drink blends, singles. So having my own niche grinder with a single dose grinder is perfect for us of our morning. And this is when we talk about which machine is suitable for you and your whole family. So I'll run a single dose of decaf, put a shot on, and then I'll do mine. And that was great for these machines. I had to have my grinder on the side to be able to do her decaf, because the decaf won't be so good pre-ground. I wouldn't want to do that. So we were actually a little bit put off by the fact that we had the grinder stuck in here, because I don't want to change the beans every time I want to change my blend or go to a decaf. So I don't think it was a benefit to me. That was not something that I kind of thought about, but it meant that I was put off by having the grinder in it. Obviously, when I'm just dealing with one blend, then the technology is great to have that grinder in there. Now, this not only grinds into the portafilter, but it also distributes and tamps the coffee, so you don't have to do anything but put the handle up in the machine. Once it's ground and distributed, you can take it out and put it straight up in the portafilter. That saves you needing extra accessories like tamps and that extra skill level as well. Now, you've got to notice the big, beautiful screen on the front of this machine. This is such a nice feature to move through. User experience of it is so nice. The swiping, the settings that you can go into. It is challenging to to really do a great job of navigating some of these menus. It's just like next level to have a screen that you can actually go into those, you can type on it, you can save your settings, you can really see. It's very visual too. There's graphics for everything, you can save different pictures. I think that's a really enjoyable experience. Straight out of the box too. It does say nice things to you and guides you a little bit as well. And it will just be a lot clearer for you as you move between different coffees. It does have a bunch of pre-settings. I didn't go and make every preset coffee. I don't imagine that they're going to be perfect, and they might need some adjusting, but straight out of the box, this machine was really quite easy to use because of the guidance that I got through the screen, because of the other features that we'll get to. It was probably the easiest straight out of the box for sure. Now, I spoke about before the Bambino having the automatic milk system. This also has that system. It's just probably taken to the next level. So you can go into your settings and you can actually change the milk texturing for different milk types. You can change it for oat milk to almond to full cream. Why would we do that? It's because all of these milks will react differently to more or less steam. Now, when I do coffee training, it often gets asked, how do I spin my milk for different alternative milks? And the conversation is always around, there's different nuances to each milk, and people seem to think that they've nailed what each milk, how it reacts differently, more or less air, more or less heat, and they've been able to adapt to that. So that's a nice little feature. I can also move a sliding scale. I don't just have 3 options for heat. I can choose the heat that I want. And obviously adjust that for the next coffee and save that setting. I can also change my microphone levels as well. So really precise settings that I can do there. Again, we're lifting it up, putting the milk in, setting it down and letting it spin. When it's finished, we'll lift it up, take it off, and then it will auto purge straight into the tray once I put that steam on down. Really simple. It's a kind of cool, like I don't love hanging jugs and obviously you've got to come back and turn it off. But to be able to walk away from a steam wand is a nice touch. If I'm making breakfast, if I'm doing other things, I can't be pulling shots and doing milk at the same time. I can't set everything up, set and forget. I do have to do both, one after the other. But I did find it to be a nice little touch that I could actually walk away from the machine and come back and my milk wasn't cooked and overheated. So I think that's a real benefit, especially if you're not a coffee person, you've got a busy life and you want to make a great cup of coffee. It's really convenient. It'll turn it off for you. And then the auto purge is a great feature. Much larger drip tray in there as well, so with an indicator if it's getting full. So all round the experience on milk was quite pleasant, quite easy to use, and the result was much better than I anticipated. Like the Bambino Plus, the auto milk was, again, sometimes better than baristas. You've got the 58ml portafilter as well, so again, we're able to use those accessories, and we don't need the tank, we don't need the distribution, but we can, upgrade to a naked portafilter or do something else. So we can also fit a lot more coffee in there. They do say 18 to 22 grams, and you are relying on the grinder to give you a certain amount of coffee. Now the blades will spin, it will drop the coffee through, and then it will finish that. So that's dependent on the size of the basket, and as the coffee falls in there, it's giving that measurement. So a bit of a variable there that you don't have control over. And if you're deep diving into coffee, much like the person that might buy a dual boiler, you're going to lose control of that, and that might annoy you. So, but that's why this grinder and this setup might not be for you if you're wanting the access to all of the changes that you can make, like dose. That might not be the machine for you. Now, I should have said this at the start, but one of the biggest technology upgrades in this machine, it's quite clever, and that's using the thermojet technology. That's actually a heated coil above the group head, and that's why you're actually able to heat this machine up in seconds. This is not something I've experienced before. Obviously, we're filling boilers, we're using PID controllers to manage that boiler temp, but in this, it's using a very different technology that heats the water as it passes through. It's quite consistent. There's definitely videos that deep dive on this machine and all the others, but there's a lot of great videos about this machine. They go into a lot more specifics of that technology. They're measuring the consistency from flow to flow. So you can watch those videos if you want the tech review, but for me, it's more of an experience video, this one. So I wanted to say that is a pretty cool feature, to be able to turn a machine on and have it hot that quickly is a nice feature. If you're, again, it's a convenience machine, it's someone that's busy, they don't have time to turn off their own milk, they've only got time to quickly make themselves a coffee. It's a little bit noisier because it's got the grinder built into it. There's a bit of room noise to it because of the shape and the body to it, but I think generally I've heard louder pump machines and vibrator pump machines. So I would say generally you could get up, sneak a coffee in the morning and get on your way pretty quickly and easy with this machine. The other thing about this machine is some of the drinks that you can actually make in here. Particularly, there's a cold brew setting and a cold espresso setting. Now these are actually running at 9 bars. They're running at 35 degrees. And one of the extractions I did took 2 minutes. It filled up my glass with probably 200 mils of liquid, and it was quite enjoyable. I was very surprised by how much it didn't actually taint the taste of the coffee. I was expecting a more burnt flavor profile, burnt flavors that I would get out of it. I was pretty impressed. One afternoon, I got home from the beach, I turned it on, I started grinding the coffee, I put it in and I ran a cold brew setting, chucked it on ice, and within minutes I was walking away with a cold drink that was quite sweet. Profiles just on a blend. It was actually really nice. So that impressed me, and I think if you're the kind of person that likes to experiment with different drinks, trying cold brew settings, cold espresso, making drinks for different people without knowing how to adapt recipes, that was a really cool feature. I think that's something that the screen is very helpful for, being able to save settings, update things and come back to them later, and just using the preset instructions that are in there is a really helpful thing if you're not necessarily ready to dial it all in. Another little feature that I really like on these machines is the ability to lock it down to the bench or unlock it so you can move it. This is not something I've experienced with other brands, and other coffee machines are often quite heavy. You've got to lift them, drag them around. These machines you can unlock and slide them forward. It's really helpful if you've got low cabinetry, you want to wipe under your bench, maybe you can't even fill your hopper because it's under a cabinet or something. You can pull it out. You can access the water pretty easily and fill up your water reservoir. However, they are at the back, and if you want to clean it out properly, you might want to be able to move it out. So it's a helpful thing. I know that I've in the past had other machines that I've had to take every cup off the top to be able to get to the water, and that's kind of challenging. So I think it's a cool little feature that they've got on these bigger machines. Let me be clear, this guy does not have a slide feature, but he is so light, I think you can pick that one and move it. All right, so who are these machines perfect for? Let's just come back to the Breville Bambino Plus. Now, this machine is perfect for someone who's got a small space, limited knowledge on really dialing into specialty coffee, want something simple to use, straight out of the box, hit the button, simple steam your milk, and pouring basic coffees without the extensiveness of the menu to guide you. So I would say for the price point, under $1,000, it's a great machine, and it's going to give you a little bit of room to move on your budget to be able to get a good grinder. And I would recommend getting a good grinder, spending a little bit more money on that grinder to pair with the Bambino Plus. Because then you can invest in a grinder now, and down the line you might upgrade your machine to something like the dual boiler. Now, once you get to that level, you're working with a machine that's going to give you access to everything you need to be able to keep dialing in, keep improving the coffee. And also if you're changing coffees, if you're learning how to drink black coffee and you want to get the most out of a light roast or a dark roast, this might be a little bit less exciting for you, but this is going to give you the options to change some settings in there that will get the best out of that coffee. Again, you've got a separate grinder. You've had to invest a little bit more in the machine, but hopefully if you're kind of looking at spending that money, we can spend some money on a good grinder as well. So if you're trying to get the best flavor, I would say that the dual boiler is going to take you there. If you're looking for automation, this is not the machine for you. If you're coming to Breville to make your life easier, I don't think this is the machine for you. I would be looking at the Breville Oracle Jet. Yes, we're looking upwards of 2,000 Australian, and it's automation. I was happy with the flavor of the coffee. I think I could have dialed it in even further and saved those settings as a really nice feature to be able to come back to. But just the guidance that it got me, if I was giving this to someone that was learning about coffee, it might seem like a lot to spend on a machine for someone that's not a real coffee person. That's really the automation that you're buying. It's the automation of well spun milk without you having to stand there and spin it. It's the grinder telling you when to change the grind and how much by, so the next time you're making coffee, it is that bit better. And it's just being able to navigate through a menu, choose from different drinks. It's the kind of person that might have a beautiful kitchen in their home, they're looking for a feature piece. This is definitely a bit more of a head turner, and will get people talking, and you can quickly impress them with your coffee making skills. So huge range here. There is obviously a bunch of different machines in between, pro versions and all these different Breville machines. I'd say this is just a bit of a core range that I've now experienced in my home, and I've been pleasantly surprised. I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. Do you own one of these machines? Are you looking at buying one? What are the pros and cons for you? What kind of coffee drinker are you? Do you need access to the technology, or do you want the automation of Breville? Have you had the same experience that I've had? Put them in the comments below. The community will help me answer them, and I'll read them and answer them with them. And we just want to give people guidance so they're not wasting money. We can all taste and experience great coffee from home, and you can feel like you've got value for money and you've picked the right coffee machine for you. Now, we've got more videos on how to make great coffee. I've done another Breville video on the Barista Express and how to get the best out of that. So check out that video and all of our videos about how to make great coffee at home or in a cafe, or even run a successful cafe business if that's what you're doing. So thank you for watching this video. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to helping you again soon. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you next time. Bye.